Welcome to this week's edition of the Music City Mania podcast here on the Nashville Cats Radio Network, a special YouTube exclusive for all of you subscribers out there. Thank you for joining us. Again, you cannot get this show on our regular podcast feed. Normally, you'll be able to find us on SoundCloud, on iTunes, and on Google Play. But this episode, you are only getting here on YouTube. Thanks so much for checking us out. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher, and joining me on this exclusive episode is my brother from another mother, a wild-eyed Southern boy, Mr. No, not Mr. It's the whole podcasting show, Jared Justice. What's the haps, my friend?
What's going on, brother? How's your life going today?
Well, it's the craps. Just saying.
And did chicken salad have anything to do with that?
Listen, for all of you people who are listening to this episode, I am sick as a dog right now. But as they say in the showbiz, the show must go on. So here we are. We're still talking. You can't see me at least, or you'd be able to tell that I'm not well. But hey, all you got to do is hear my voice. So as long as I can power through, we'll be all right. Check us out all over social media. We are at Music City Mania on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can shoot us an email, musiccitymaniapodcast@gmail.com. You'll also find all of that info on the description of this video, so check that out. Again, we are exclusive on YouTube this week. We decided we were going to do a show. We asked you guys about this a couple weeks ago. Do a show not about WWE. Of course, I'm sure WWE talk will get thrown into this because it's still wrestling related. But we are talking all about All Elite Wrestling and Wrestle Kingdom 13, a little combined effort in this show, and we wanted to bring it to you exclusively on YouTube. I'm pumped for this, man. It was a good idea that you had to do an episode on all this. Man, you're just full of good ideas lately.
It's what I do, my friend. It's what I do.
Check out this coming week on the Music City Mania podcast on all those platforms that I just mentioned. You will hear the debut of a new segment that we like to call the Hat Trick. So check it out. We'll cover an event in wrestling that happened not once, not twice, but three time Royal Rumble winner. Just check it out. It'll be fun. So yeah, check out that and be sure to subscribe, rate, review, download, all those things for our show. We greatly appreciate it. But let's get into it, man. All Elite Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom 13. Before we dive into everything specifically,
Chris. I thought we had this talk, and you were good to go for the show.
It's all taken care of. I promise. Sounded like a daggum duck call or something. Anyway, all right. Let's get serious for a minute. We are talking Wrestle Kingdom 13 and All Elite. You checked out the Double or Nothing rally that happened in Jacksonville for All Elite Wrestling. Overall, without getting into too many details, what did you think? What was your overall takeaway from the rally? And just your perspective, I guess, going forward on kind of where they left you.
Well, there's a couple of different ways you can look at it. I thought that they had a great presentation with the fireworks, the pyro and all that good stuff. I thought everything looked really sleek. I thought it looked like they weren't just a Smoky Mountain type promotion in 2019, even though I would still love to see a Smoky Mountain like promotion in 2019
for sure.
But it just looked sleek, and it didn't look greedy. It didn't look kind of half done. You didn't have a sign in the background that fell and Mean Gene got mad, dropped a cuss word. But the thing that did not impress me, and I've seen other people talking about it, was that there were so few people in the grand scheme. I mean, I heard numbers from 400 to 500 up to 1,000. 1,000 was the max that I heard.
Mm-hmm.
But they said people were kind of coming and going, and that it was kind of only a limited space to where people could kind of get in there and feel comfortable and not feel like they're packed in like sardines. So, overall, I was pretty impressed with the presentation, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I was too. I thought it was good. I thought it was, like you said, it was sleek. It looked great, the pyro and all that. I was okay. I liked that it was like a press conference type feel, and they called it a rally, but it was more like a press conference. So I appreciated that. I'm like you. That's kind of weird that they would feel confined because they're doing this in a football stadium parking lot. So
that's just what I read. I mean, I have no idea why that they would say that. That's just what I read from people's accounts. But
right.
Who knows?
Right. And yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of weird for sure. Before we keep going on that though, let's get your overall perspective on Wrestle Kingdom 13. It was a huge show. It was 5 hours long or so. Overall, what did you think of the show? I know we had high expectations, a loaded card. Every match was a title match except one. What did you think?
Anymore, I mean, we went to WrestleMania last year.
Yeah, we did.
It's pretty rare that there's a 4 or 5 hour show on that I initially watched the whole thing. And I didn't watch this entire show and sit down and watch all the matches of people who I didn't know or anything like that. But that being said, I have a subscription to New Japan, and the way it's presented on there, where you have to find match by match and all that. I mean, you've talked about it. I've told you I'm not a fan of the way it's laid out, but I paid the $39.99 or $39.95 for this show one fight. And let me tell you, man, the three big matches with Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and then Chris Jericho, that made it worth it right there to me to just have that whole event that you could watch as a regular pay-per-view from start to finish if you want to. And I did not feel like that I spent money unneeded to get that.
Right.
So I mean, if that tells you anything, I'm pretty stingy with my money, and I felt like those three matches alone delivered.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, those three matches definitely stole the show. There were other matches that were okay, and we'll get to some of those as we kind of go through the All Elite guys and the Wrestle Kingdom card and things like that. But funny about the All Elite rally is that it was held in Jacksonville, the exact same day that WWE was running a Jacksonville show. So we get reports that security won't let people in wearing All Elite stuff. Then they are letting them in and things like that. I mean, I know that we're literally, as that happened, one day into All Elite Wrestling. Is WWE feeling the heat already? I mean, are they already trying to be the big bad big brother? I mean, what do you think?
I think that if there was ever any truth to them turning people away or trying to tell them that they had to take the shirt off or put a different shirt on or blah, 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 blah. If any of that was true, I think maybe they started to do that. Maybe Vince McMahon, I'll show them. We won't let them in. And then maybe there was too many of them, that it was kind of being like, hey, we're having to turn a lot of people away, make them go change. They have their tickets. If there's any truth to it, I think that's the extent of it. Or else, I think the whole thing was a farce.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely a nugget of truth to it. But like you said, I don't know how far it went. I know that I was listening to Jim Ross's podcast this week, and last week, he had Ryan Satin on there, and I know we've kind of talked good and bad about Ryan Satin previously, but he was on there, and he made the point that the All Elite guys were running a shuttle from the stadium in Jacksonville over to the arena. So people that were going to SmackDown could leave their cars parked at the stadium and they would shuttle them to the arena and shuttle them back. Well, the problem is a lot of them showed up in All Elite shirts, and that some of them actually did not have tickets, and they were going to walk up to buy tickets, and they were turning them away to buy tickets at the door as well, not just not letting them in with the shirts on. So I don't know. I think it's definitely a weird situation. I know WWE is, wanting to, I guess, stand their ground and they're the top dogs or whatever. But as JR says, wrestling's wrestling. Competition's healthy for everybody. It's just it's a weird dynamic, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard. I don't think WWE is above the whole. Well, if you see signs for this person, take them away, and if they won't give them up, then turn them away. I mean, I've heard that for years.
Right.
So who knows how this got started, or maybe they just said, the people who already have tickets, let them in.
Yeah.
The people who are trying to buy tickets, they don't have an investment in the show yet, just tell them they have to go change, or they can't come in with that on.
Yeah.
And they'll go out there, and they're already here. They'll go out there, they'll change, they'll put something else on, and here they'll come back in and buy their ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense to me. If they did anything at all, that would make the most sense to me.
Right. And apparently there's some video on Twitter of somebody getting turned away or whatever, but I can 100% confirm that I watched SmackDown that night, and I saw Young Bucks and AEW T-shirts on the television side on the floor that night. So eventually they were let in, and they were wearing their shirt. So regardless of how it started, that's how it ended. The shirts ended up on their television show, whether they liked it or not. So
yeah, I mean, they used to have, during the biggest time of wrestling, you had WCW signs on WWF, and you had WWF signs on WCW, and they just let everything fly.
Exactly.
And that was a good time for everybody.
Yep.
Nobody cared really, but fans felt like they were making a statement, and they were still buying those WWF and WCW tickets the same way they would be, regardless. Right. So why not let the fans have fun?
Right, exactly. And you had when DX invaded Nitro, you had the people standing outside of Nitro, and DX was out there with them, and they were all chanting WCW sucks, and all that. But they're going to the WCW show. So, yeah, it's wrestling's wrestling. Everybody was having a good time at that point. Do you think that WWE, and I know we're kind of going on a sidebar, but that's what we do here. Do you think that WWE is, again, we're one day into this, do you think they're afraid of getting hijacked? That too many people will get into the arena and they'll, quote, lose control?
I think they're very aware that from this point on, at least probably until that we actually get a regular show and the regular show gets started up and maybe people kind of get used to it, because at first it's going to be a sensation. It's going to be a phenomenon. You are going to have be elite instead of your CM Punk or your EC Dub.
Right.
I mean, it's just going to replace them. I mean, there's nothing they can do about that. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Now, do I think that they're worried to the point that they can't put the little fat sausage link type grubby fingers on the little dials and dial it down to where that you can't hear those chants as good? No, I think that they're aware that they can do that, and they're willing to do that. So I don't think fans can hijack them very much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just wonder, like, WWE is this big global phenomenon that it's going to take All Elite at least 5 years to really shake the foundation of what WWE already has built. It just is. Like you said, it's going to be a sensation to start with. The first year or two is going to be insane, but it's not like it's really going. WWE is not going to see an effect for at least 5 years. I don't think. I mean, they're
Yeah,
they're raking in billions of dollars a year. That's not going to change.
no,
So
no, it's not going to. Um, do we want to talk now, or do we want to talk later
we'll talk
about?
later. We'll talk later about
Okay,
that.
all
Yes,
right,
I know what you're
okay.
talking about. We'll talk later about that. I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, so let's get into the rally itself, though. To begin the rally, to kick off the rally, hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Oh man,
What the heck, man?
that was awesome. I loved it.
Wasn't it? I mean,
I loved seeing him waddle out there.
the first thing that you see on the rally is our boy Conrad Thompson.
Love him. Love Conrad.
Listen, this guy just 5 or so years ago was just a wrestling fan who was trying to host a couple podcasts and had met Ric Flair and was collecting Ric Flair robes. Now he's freaking married to his daughter. He's got the most successful wrestling podcast on the planet, and he's still doing mortgages. He's had StarCast, which is a huge success. Now, along with Double or Nothing, StarCast Part 2 is going to happen. I mean, just 5 years ago, this guy was an ordinary wrestling fan just like us. And now he's moderating the press conference, the rally that's going to set the wrestling world on fire. What the heck, man?
Well, once again, I'm going to be a realist here. I think how it all started was the guy has money. The guy has money,
Well,
and he
yeah.
started buying robes. He probably took Flair out and paid for Flair to drink a lot and eat fine caviar and shrimp and, squid and lobster. I feel like I should start doing the lobster. What? A little bit of squid. What? Throw in some shrimp.
What?
But I think that's how he got started. I think that's one advantage that he had that the rest of us don't have for the most part. Now, the Khan family does, and we're seeing the effects of that.
Yep.
But on top of that, let's be honest, too. He got his foot in the door probably that way.
Yep.
But he's such a likable guy.
He is.
And he has a voice that's very distinct. He's a wrestling fan, and you can tell it. I mean, he's a nerd. He's a nerd just like the rest of us when it comes to wrestling. And so I think everybody connects with him. Everybody likes him. Everybody's like, okay, this guy does have all this money, but he's not a stuck-up jerk. He's nice to people. We've met him.
Yep.
We've met him a few times. And, I mean, he's got nothing but good as gold to us.
He recognized me before I even came up to him the last time I met him. So he remembered me from the 3 or 4 other times. So, yeah, I mean, couldn't be a more likable guy. He's a big teddy bear, literally and figuratively. But
unless you piss him off during one of his shows, let me tell you what, this man can be a very scary individual.
Yes,
which
he
I
can.
had his back, so that makes him even more scary. You know what I'm saying?
But still, I mean, I wouldn't want to meet a mad Conrad Thompson in a dark alley. Just saying. That's a big dude. But how cool would it be if Conrad Thompson ended up on commentary for a regular television show for AEW?
Oh, I'd be if I could pick, I would pick the team of Conrad Thompson and good old JR.
Which is what the rumor is right now. Not necessarily Conrad, but that JR, I think his deal with WWE expires in January or something like that, sometime this month. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's either March or April.
Maybe it's a little bit later. So whenever his deal expires, that they'll announce that he's going to be the voice of AEW and that he's going to play a backstage role as well.
Yeah, if they get him in there as what was his title in WWE? Head of talent relations.
Yeah, he was talent relations guy.
Yeah, make him head of talent relations. Everybody had nothing but glowing things to say about JR back whenever that was his job.
Yep.
Now, I don't think it was JR's favorite job. I think being on the mic, being on the headset is his number one. But I mean, it seems like he excelled at that too.
So you've got JR being the play-by-play guy. You've got Conrad Thompson being the color analysis guy. I mean, you can't ask for a better team if that's what it ends up being.
Conrad will need his own table. So let's be honest.
Well, between Conrad and JR, we'll probably need 2 tables. So,
Well, yeah, by the time you put Conrad and then all of his Miller or Coors Light, whichever one he prefers, his buckets that he pulls out of everywhere that each have like 6 or 8 beers in them, then, he's going to need his own table.
Well, listen, it would not be nearly as funny for Conrad to do the commentating if he did not have a bucket of Miller Lite right there with him during the show. I'm just saying.
That's probably true.
I'm just saying. So, Conrad's involved, at least for the press conference he was involved. We're just speculating here. We don't know if he's involved for sure long term. We'd like to think that he will be, but it would be smart if he is. But we don't know for sure. But Conrad's involved. The first set of wrestlers that he brings up is SoCal Uncensored, SCU, who is Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky, who we had the pleasure of seeing at NWA 70 in that first Fatal 4-Way match. And I've never seen the guy wrestle before, but holy smokes, the guy's like as good as Ricochet ever thought about being. This guy's incredible. And I've never seen the 3 of them wrestle together, but I know Kazarian and Christopher Daniels were great in the heyday of TNA, so I can imagine these 3 guys are going to add a really good element to AEW as far as falling into that, I don't want to say Lucha Libre style, but high-flying stuff that we're probably going to see a lot of.
And let me just say this. I know everybody likes to do their 2019 predictions and all that, but whether it be 2019 or 2020, I'm just saying that some of these guys that historically WWE likes to stick on 205 Live or likes to not utilize because a lot of their main stars are these body guys that Vince has always liked. And they can't have matches with people like Ricochet, where Ricochet can do all his flying. You need a dance partner. This is one thing we really need to watch. And I know it's going to lead into a discussion that we have at some point on this podcast, but I'm just saying, people like Ricochet in particular, I'm pointing him out.
Yep.
They better utilize this guy. They better push him to the top. They better find him good dance partners, or else he will be in AEW. You just mark my word on that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that there is some promise when it comes to that more than before because of Mustafa Ali and the push that he's getting right now on the main roster. He's proven that he can hang on SmackDown. So I think that opens the door for Ricochet. But you're 100% right that is the biggest asset for AEW is those kind of guys. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But a lot of people don't know this, and you may not remember this either, but back in the Attitude Era, and I want to say this was early 99. I don't remember. I'm not for sure on my date here. But when they were doing the higher power angle. And
I got you.
And the higher power was revealed to be Vince McMahon. Originally, if you believe the rumor and innuendo, and Bruce Pritchard, Christopher Daniels was supposed to be the higher power. Can you imagine if he would have been the higher power and what trajectory his career would have taken and where he would or would not be at this point?
I think that it would have done nothing but help him. I don't know at that time that they would have utilized him right long term.
Yep.
But I mean, I think it definitely would have boosted his indie value for the future, and I think that it would have been easier for once you have your Daniel Bryans and your AJ Styles in WWE that he would be there right now and would not be part of this SoCal Uncensored and now AEW, which could be good or could be bad. I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out for him. But
true. Yeah, that's very true. So next up on the press conference, introduced is one of the 3 executive vice presidents of All Elite Wrestling, which is Cody, don't call him Rhodes, comes up and explains or talks about that the Elite's motto is to change the world. And he talked about how the Khan family, which you mentioned earlier, you've got Shad and Tony Khan, who are the owners of the Jacksonville Jaguars football team. That's why this is all based in Jacksonville. They came to Cody and the Bucks and knew that they wanted to change the world, and they wanted to help. They wanted to be the investors. They wanted to back them. That's how this whole thing kind of got started. Tony is the son, and he's a huge wrestling fan, and so he's going to be kind of heading this whole thing up. And you've got Cody and the Bucks right underneath him there. Cody talked about how, compared to other entertainers and celebrities, the wrestlers were going to get paid very comparable in AEW to other celebrities and entertainers. That's a lot of dough to be thrown out, man. That's some hefty promises to be making.
Well, you have Jericho. He signed a 3-year deal, and he made the statement that this is the heftiest deal monetarily that he has ever signed.
Exactly.
And he's made pretty good money in WWE in the past, and
Yeah,
probably even in WCW. I mean, probably not compared to his later WWE run, but I mean, I think even most of the WCW wrestlers are making like $250,000 to $500,000 minimum.
Right, exactly. And you know he was at least, I would think he's at least over that 250 threshold in his last run with WCW towards the end there. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, you're right. Coming off of, a hot end to his WCW career, WWE signed him for good money. And like you said, these last few runs with WWE, he's made killer money, I'm sure. So that says a whole lot that AEW is willing to pay these guys this much money. What do you make of this? I know that you've got big investors in the Cons, and I know once a TV deal gets put in place that more money is going to roll in. But do you think that I don't want to say they're going to run out of money, but do you think they're kind of putting too much into this to begin with, or what do you think?
Nah, you got the Khan family that's worth like $8 billion.
That's true.
I think probably their first year, they better expect to probably either break even or at least take a loss. But with the way that everything looks right now, initially, if they put the right people in the right places, and I mean the quality of wrestlers that they're starting out with here at the base, at the core of this thing, I mean, I don't see how it's going to tank.
Yeah.
Really, unless they just TNA Impact this deal, then I think it's going somewhere. I think they can at least make money with this thing.
Well, as long as they don't get Bischoff and Hogan in there to run the company, then I think they'll be fine.
I know, dissing your boy Bischoff. You better go ahead and say how much you like him.
He did a crap job in TNA, and he lets Hulk Hogan make every decision for him. I like Bischoff. He's smart, but when it comes to Hulk Hogan, the guy needs to... Never mind. Anyway, so you've got Cody. Let's jump to Wrestle Kingdom real quick, and let's talk about Cody's match at Wrestle Kingdom for the United States Championship with Juice Robinson. First of all, why does New Japan Pro Wrestling have a United States Championship?
That is a very good question, man. That I do not know the answer to. Why do they have an Intercontinental title?
Yeah, why? I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. Why another country has a United States title? That's like, I know WWF had a European title for a hot minute, but the way I don't know. I guess it's just another title that doesn't mean anything. Anyway, if you checked out Wrestle Kingdom, if you haven't already, it's available on Fight. It's also available on New Japan World. Go check it out. But Cody and Brandy's gear from the show are Jacksonville Jaguars colored, Jacksonville Jaguars themed. makes a lot of sense considering that their moneymakers now are the owners of that team. But I thought this match was okay. I know you and I talked before about the whole Gaga at the beginning with Brandy and all that. After going back and watching it, I didn't mind it too much. I guess it was kind of to do a little bit more to tell a story to cover up Cody's injury. Apparently he has a torn meniscus that he's got to get repaired. But overall, I thought the match was okay. But knowing that he's injured, I could tell it was kind of hampering him a little bit.
Yeah, it was like me and you had talked about off air there for a second. You said that you really weren't that impressed with the Cody match. But if you look at his injury, and then you look at, I mean, I really wasn't that aware of the injury either, but that explains the Brandy part that you just brought up. So, I mean, given all that, I thought it was still a pretty good match. I think Juice Robinson is a pretty good wrestler. I think Cody's a pretty good wrestler. I think, given their limitations here, they did what they needed to do to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish.
That's true. I mean, this is Cody's last match in New Japan. I expected a little more out of it, a little bit longer of a match, but is what it is at this point. Somebody's got to have the shorter matches on the card. They just happen to be that to get stuck with that. And did you know, speaking of Juice Robinson, that he was in NXT for a while?
I did. I heard that actually. I think it was last night. Whenever I was listening to a podcast, I never knew he was in it, but apparently he was.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was kind of interesting to go back after when I was listening to the commentary. I realized that he was. I think they mentioned something about it on Wrestle Kingdom, so I had to go back and check it out. But yeah, sure enough, he was there. But for Cody's last deal in New Japan, like you said, is what it is. With the injury, they were limited, but they did what they could do. Another guys that were part of AEW on the New Japan show that I can't say that I was totally impressed with was the Young Bucks during the triple threat tag match at Wrestle Kingdom. You saw Sonata and Evil winning the tag titles against the Young Bucks and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. What did you think about Young Bucks in this match? Did you watch it? Were you impressed at all?
Yeah, the Gorillas of Destiny, I think, is your Tama Tonga and Tama Logo or whatever.
Yep.
Usually they're pretty good and pretty entertaining too, but man, this match it really fell short of my expectations of them and especially the Young Bucks. I think if you would have maybe just had a one-on-one tag team encounter, maybe we would have got more out of both of these two. The other two teams I really didn't know that much about. Can't really speak to them, but they certainly didn't impress me in this particular match.
Yeah, I'm with you. Same way. I guess I'm gonna have to go back and check out some other Bucks stuff to really be impressed with them and not sell them short as far as this match goes, because I know they've had good stuff. What I was really shocked about is I'd never seen the tag team championship from New Japan. They have the exact same title design as WWE. Exact.
Really?
It's that medallion circle, and they've got two circles on the side. It's literally the exact same design.
I know for a long time, I think that their Intercontinental title was the same as the old Intercontinental belt.
Yeah.
That WWF had.
Yeah. It surprises me, honestly, that WWE has, because they just switched to that, not long ago. I don't know how long New Japan has had that design, but I don't know. That just kind of struck me as really strange, because I honestly thought when they came out that they were coming out with like WWE replica titles. I was like, that's really weird. Why would they do that?
Right.
But yeah, it was really strange. In any event, though, the Young Bucks wrestling their last match with New Japan and off to AEW as What is so funny? What
My
is?
cell phone went off. It must have got a text message or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
I apologize, everyone.
Yeah, I don't get what's so funny, but whatever. Anyway, so you got the Young Bucks, the other two executive vice presidents of AEW, and apparently Cody mentioned a while back that he had recently, and this was back in December, had recently turned down a WWE offer. Well, I guess the Young Bucks did as well. So, if you believe the dirt sheets, the Young Bucks were offered AJ Styles money each. And AJ is one of the highest paid wrestlers in the company right now. So they're offered AJ money. They're offered a 3-year deal with a 6-month out if they don't like where creative is going, which apparently nobody has. They were offered creative control, and they were offered the Being the Elite weekly show on the network. And they turned all of that down. That's a hefty deal, man.
The only thing that I've read that I think Meltzer, old Uncle Dave, as you always call him,
Uncle Dave.
I think that the only thing he came out, and I think you said that he actually was the one that reported this, but then he was the one to say that it wasn't so. Was he said that they were not offered creative control? Everything else I had heard, except for the AJ money part, I'd heard they were offered a lot, but I didn't hear it was AJ money. But it would make sense because I think if you get the Young Bucks out of the equation, this AEW thing never takes flight, man. It doesn't have wings.
Right. Oh yeah, I agree. Because if you just have Cody, okay, he's the hottest independent wrestler in the last couple of years. Yeah. So you still have some leverage there. You still have some excitement there. But the Young Bucks are kind of taking the whole thing to another level. So you're exactly right. If they're not there, then, they lose a lot of momentum in AEW. But nonetheless, they are there. And they apparently... this is one thing that I will say about them, and normally I don't knock this. But they're the executive vice presidents of AEW, and they show up at the rally in T-shirts and jeans. Come on, guys. Wear a suit. At least a sports coat.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice that, man. I think everybody else who had an official position, and even Conrad, who doesn't have an official position yet, I think everybody else had on, tuxes or suits or something.
Yeah. Cody was wearing a suit. I get that they were wearing their shirts for AEW and they were sporting those, whatever, getting the word out. I get that, but come on, man, at least wear a sport coat over it or something. But Nick Jackson mentioned that there's a group coming in that's going to be part of the roster that's called the Good Hearts, and they're in China, and the company is called OWE. Now, it's not anything that I've ever heard of, but apparently they're going to blow everybody's mind with their talent. And if they're going to blow the Young Bucks' mind, apparently these guys are going to be pretty good. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I mean, I would imagine, just like you said, if they're getting, if they're getting Young Buck praise, then these guys are probably the type that can do your new age chain wrestling, where that they match each other hold for hold for hold for hold for hold, and they both do the nip up or the kip up and kind of do the face off.
Yeah. I mean, if the Young Bucks are praising them, like you said, it's going to be high flying and it's going to be fast paced and it's going to be fun. I'm excited. Don't have a clue again who these guys are, but is what it is, I guess. Up next on the press conference is Brandy Rhodes, the chief brand officer of AEW, which is hilarious because that's Stephanie McMahon's title.
And it's Brandy.
Yes.
It's kind of funny, too.
The chief brandy officer. Yes, that's very funny. But she talked about the women's division, how she's going to kind of spearhead that division, introduce the first women's signee, which is Britt Baker, and that is Adam Cole's girlfriend. I find that kind of interesting, that she exclusively signs with AEW, because a lot of these females, and we're going to talk about another one here in a minute, have recently worked out at the Performance Center. Some of them were involved in the Mae Young Classic. Yet, I guess WWE decided they weren't ready. I don't know. I probably would have taken a chance on some of these girls.
So, okay, we know they worked out at the Performance Center. Somebody we're getting ready to talk about in a minute, and Britt Baker. And any of the other ones that I don't know about that have signed or whatever.
Yep.
So why do you think it is? Do you think that they want that the talent wanted to go and kind of be seen at the Performance Center, kind of make a little bit of a splash, and then turn around and sign with AEW just to kind of be like, a little bit of a screw you to WWE, or to put it out there maybe in a way similar to that? Or do you think it was all just happenstance that you have a few of these show up at the Performance Center, and or maybe even it's just what you said, that WWE, maybe they came there because they were invited, and then WWE just wasn't interested? I mean, what's the reasoning? I haven't heard anybody touch on this, and you probably don't know the same way I don't know, but what's your opinion at least?
My speculation is that we know that Chelsea Green has recently signed with WWE, and she's already working in NXT. For those of you who don't know, she's dating Zack Ryder. She had a match.
I did not know that she had signed, actually, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she signed. She's working in NXT now. But she was in the Fatal 4-Way match at All In. Chelsea Green, Britt Baker, Tessa Blanchard, and I don't remember the fourth lady that was in there.
I think Tessa, now that Chelsea Green signed, I think Tessa is the biggest hot commodity that's not signed with WWE now.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. But I guess my point is, I feel like that Britt Baker is a better wrestler than Chelsea Green. Yet WWE is going to sign Chelsea Green, but if Britt and all these others are going to try out at the Performance Center, what did they see in Chelsea that they don't see in the others? That's what I don't understand, I guess. I'm not saying Chelsea's a bad wrestler. Don't think that at all. I just think that some of these others might be a little better. And maybe WWE did let them walk. Maybe WWE knew that through the grapevine, hey, they're about to get signed. Let's see if we've got anything for them right now, and they just don't. I don't know.
I would love to know that story.
Me too.
I just would love to know if somebody's coming to the Performance Center. If anybody knows the answer to this, please share it with us. Chris will give you our social media. But if anybody knows how that all works, like how do you have to get an excuse me, my allergies are killing me. But do you have to get an invitation to the Performance Center, like for an official tryout? Or do you just kind of know some people that are there and they say, hey, come over and work out? And so you're invited, and maybe you get seen, and maybe nobody even knows you're there. I mean, I'd just like to know how that all works.
Yeah, I definitely would too. I think it's probably, my opinion is probably it's a combination of everything you just said. Sometimes it's, somebody and somebody says, hey, just come work out, or, whatever. But hit us up on the Twitter machine, or on Facebook, or on Instagram at Music City Mania. Shoot us an email, musiccitymaniapodcast@gmail.com. Give us the answer, because we would certainly like to know. But, so you got Britt Baker. She comes out and talks a little bit. And then you have, up next in the rally, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Who the heck is Maxwell Jacob Friedman?
It's kind of like, who is Jack Slade? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Apparently, this MJF guy is hot on the indie scene right now. He's been on a couple of podcasts recently. I know he was on Sam Roberts a couple weeks ago. I didn't listen to it, but I don't know who this guy is. But apparently, he's hot in the business right now. He came out and he interrupted Conrad. He poked fun at Conrad's weight, Conrad's size. He stuck some gum to Conrad's head. It was kind of funny. But then the Jacksonville Jaguars mascot comes out and kind of provides a little bit of a distraction. And Joey Janela comes out and hits him with a crutch. And he is accompanied by the one and only Penelope Ford. So Joey Janela and Penelope Ford have announced that they have also signed with All Elite Wrestling. It was nice to see Penelope at this rally.
It's always nice to see Penelope.
Anyway, yes, it is. So, you got Penelope, you got Joey, you've got MJF. They're kind of building up their roster a little bit. Conrad introduces Hangman Adam Page. Now, Adam Page, again, it's another wrestler that I've heard a whole lot about, but that I haven't really watched any of his stuff. I checked out the gauntlet match that he was in at Wrestle Kingdom, which was like the dark match or the pre-show match, or whatever you want to call it. They entered the match first, Hangman Page and Takahashi and Marty Scurll, and they got eliminated first. It was kind of short-lived or whatever. Did you check out that match? And if not, what other stuff have you seen of Adam Page that gives you confidence that he's going to do well in AEW?
I did watch some of that match. I honestly did not know the majority of people that were coming out for that match.
FYI, I had to look them up. I didn't know them either. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of fast forwarded, and then I'd watch some, then I'd fast forward, then I'd watch some. But if I'm going to sit here and say that I remember him out of that match, that would be a complete lie. Now, I have seen him a couple of these independent type shows that I've invested in recently. Just spent some money here and there. I had the sore throat, been down with the sickness, had to take an antibiotic.
All right, Disturbed.
I haven't felt good a couple times.
What?
So I spent some money while I laid in the bed trying to recover, and got some of these shows. And I have seen him in a couple matches. I couldn't tell you who against, but I mean, I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was bad at all. But I have seen a few matches he's had.
So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, especially after the next guy that comes up. Adam Page talks about how he's going to be the first AEW champion, and then all of a sudden music hits, and precursor to what I'm about to say, I don't remember if it's on this week's episode of our podcast that's coming out, which we pre-recorded, FYI, or if it's on a previous episode, but somebody mentioned that Neville needed to be signed to All Elite Wrestling. And sure enough, who shows up at the rally but Neville, a.k.a. Pac, to confront Adam Page, the only person not dressed in dressed attire. He's in his wrestling gear. How cool was it that he made a big splash and showed up at this rally?
I mean, I've never understood why that WWE didn't take full advantage of Neville. He was just always so great, and every match I've ever seen him in, I've never been like, why did I watch that match?
Right.
Neville sucks, or Pac sucks. I mean, he always puts on a good to great performance, and so I don't understand why. Especially, I mean, yeah, he's small in stature, but this guy's ripped, man. I mean, he looks like a body guy that Vince would like. So with his high flying, high energy, and then having the body that Vince likes, I don't know why that he never made it any farther than what he did.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened either. It was right around that WrestleMania 33 time when they had problems with Austin Aries. Because you remember Austin Aries and Neville had that great pre-show match at WrestleMania 33. So they had problems with Austin Aries, and I guess they were having problems with Neville at the same time. I don't know what it was, if it was creative or if it was money or, what the deal was. But it's one of those that WWE just let slip away, unfortunately. And he's going to make a big name for himself in AEW. I know he's done some really good stuff on the independent scene outside of WWE so far, but it's only going to get better when he gets more eyeballs in front of him and can get in the ring with these guys who are obviously just as talented as he is. So I think it's a killer signing for him. I don't think that makes or breaks the bank, but it certainly provides depth to their roster. I think it's a good signing for sure.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. I don't think you can. I don't think you can go wrong with this guy for sure.
Absolutely. So after that little confrontation, Conrad brings back up Cody and the Bucks, and they talk about how they're going to have another show after, or either before or after. They haven't confirmed the date yet. Double or Nothing. It's going to be in Jacksonville, and a large amount of the proceeds are going to go to gun violence victims. And that was just kind of their way to sort of quote unquote wrap up the show. Conrad comes up and he's yakking, and then all of a sudden, Judas hits the speakers, and out comes the GOAT, the Ayatollah of rock and roll. Chris Jericho announces that he's officially signed with AEW. Now, I can't say that I'm totally shocked that he signed because he was rumored to be involved the whole time. But what I can say I'm shocked about is to learn that apparently not that long ago he was involved in negotiations with WWE. So, in that sense, yeah, I'm kind of shocked, but it's good to see him as kind of the top dog so far in AEW.
Yeah. So you go back to the Bucks that supposedly spent 12 hours in negotiations total with Triple H, and all the things that we've heard that they were offered, and they turned it down. So that raises the question: if they weren't at all interested in going to WWE, why would they spend 12 hours? Do you think in their mind that they were really weighing the options? Or do you think they knew all along? Which is the same question that I posed for you about Y2J Chris Jericho. Do you think whenever he was negotiating with WWE that he already knew, hey, no matter what these guys offer me, I'm breaking the walls down at AEW regardless?
I think with the Bucks, they knew all along they were not going to go. I think they were just trying to I think they may have been trying to see what the market was like, what they could get, kind of thing. Now I don't think they go at all because they're executive vice presidents. They're not going anywhere. I think they just wanted to test the waters to see what they could get. Jericho, on the other hand, I kind of lean towards that he legit thought about going back. And the reason I say that is we know that All Elite is probably not going to really get going until 2020. So if Jericho could negotiate to do WrestleMania season and be done, I think he would have. And then announced he was signing with All Elite at the end of the year or something like that. So I think a short run could have been possible for Jericho. I think it from talking to him, not directly to him, from hearing him talk to people in interviews and stuff, it basically comes down to creative in WWE and what they have for him and what they don't. And if he doesn't feel like they have anything for him, he probably went in and said, okay, what's WrestleMania look like? Who am I going to face at WrestleMania? And if they couldn't give him a good guy, he probably said, okay, I'm not coming back. See ya. You know, that's just what I think. What do you lean more towards?
Man, I really don't know. I would like to think that the Bucks and Jericho both had it in their mind that they were not going to go anywhere besides AEW. But why would they waste so much time in negotiations if they already knew there was absolutely no chance? So that says to me, somewhere in the minds of the Bucks, somewhere in the mind of Jericho, there was at least some doubt
Yep.
that they might want to go to WWE.
That's true. And Jericho has come out and said, since he announced that he was signing, he has come out and said that he talked to Vince McMahon before he signed. That he and Vince had a conversation, and that Vince knew that he was going to sign, and that everything was fine, business was business, that kind of thing. So negotiations at least went that far for Jericho. Now, we don't know about the Bucks. We don't know if it ever got to Vince, but we know Jericho did. So I think you're right. I think some doubt maybe have crept in their mind. I think Jericho knows he always has a home in WWE. So I think that was always a possibility for him. Like I said, could have been a short-term deal. Didn't have to be that long. Jericho's all about Jericho these days. And he's all about his brand and making his name bigger. So if he could jump from New Japan to WWE and then to AEW and his crews and his band, I mean, his name's all over the place. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that exactly what you said. I think they probably all had some doubt, but I think the AEW thing was probably the biggest in their mind, and I think that they would have really had to have been swayed and pursued, romanced, if you will, baby, before they would have changed their mind and done something other than AEW. But the possibility was there.
Well, Jericho has also said that he would not have come to AEW if he didn't think there was a good TV deal on the table, and that a TV deal is looking pretty good. It could have been that during the time of the negotiations that the TV deal wasn't rock solid yet, or that they were still searching that out. So that could have been part of their doubt. That what if we don't get a TV deal?
But still, we don't seem to have any rock solid confirmation that there is one.
Well, we don't, but if you listen to the press conference after the rally, they asked Cody about it. And Brandy talks about it, and Cody kind of winks at the camera as Brandy's talking about it. And then he says, look, we wanted Jericho to be the biggest announcement of this press conference. There's going to be more to come, which tells me it's pretty much a done deal. They're just waiting to announce it. Because if they don't get started till 2020, why would you announce everything in January of 2019?
Yeah, and Jericho also made the statement that he wouldn't have inked the deal if he hadn't been very confident that they did have a big TV deal in place. Let me ask you this. How old is Jericho right now?
He's in his late 40s.
Okay, so let's assume 48. So 3 years from now, okay, we'll say 47, 48. He's probably going to be 50 by the time this 3-year deal's over. Do you think a 50-year-old Jericho still has the potential to go back to WWE to wrestle anymore? 3 more years.
In 3 years, he'll be 51. So you were right, 48 right now. I think if Hogan can do it, Jericho can certainly do it and be way more entertaining. But yes, I think Jericho could go back and have a short run, like I just mentioned, a Rumble to WrestleMania or whatever, and then kind of wrap it up. I think, yes, he could do that. Depends on how active he is and how full-time he is in AEW. Jim Ross mentioned on his podcast, he doesn't think Jericho would be a weekly TV guy, and I don't necessarily think so either. So it just depends on how much punishment he takes over the next 3 years.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be taking a lot of punishment, man. It's just, maybe with the DDP yoga and, doing this whole band gimmick and flying around stage and getting that adrenaline rush, but not really wrestling on a WWE-like schedule. Maybe he can keep going. I don't know. I would like to see Jericho end his career in a WWE ring, even if it's just one match. That's just me, though.
Oh, I 100% agree, and I think you're right. I think he will. I think he knows that that's home, and he knows that he always has a home there. So after these 3 years, I do think he'll go back to WWE, and I think he'll end his career there. Although it remains to be seen. He's pretty happy where he is right now, and he has 100% creative control with what he's doing. So that being said, there's always a possibility that he doesn't go back. I just can't see a scenario where he doesn't end his career in WWE.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was really cool, I would not have thought to this extent that this was the case. But Jericho has said that with New Japan, he doesn't really have to run his outfit, his wardrobe, his costume, his persona by anybody. He just goes out there and does it.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's something that's important to him. And so, I think if he makes a big enough splash, or at least if AEW makes a big enough splash, that I don't think he goes back to WWE. Even though that's what I want to see, I think he has a retirement match in AEW, and out he goes because that's his baby. But I would like to see one more Triple H versus Chris Jericho match.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that would be, that would definitely be
Hell in a Cell.
A rematch. There you go.
Yep.
I think that if he does go back to WWE, though, like I said, he's not going to go back under anybody's terms but his own. If he doesn't like what they have for him, or if he can't have pretty much creative control, he's not going back. It's just where he is in this stage of his career. That's kind of where he was with the whole list deal and Kevin Owens and all that. So he's not gonna go back unless he likes what they have. That's for sure. So speaking of Jericho and taking bumps and things like that, what are you doing?
I don't know, man. Moses must have hit something in the kitchen. Moses, stop that.
Moses.
What are you doing over there?
Jeez.
He's running into something.
Oh, my gosh. So, Jericho and Naito for the Intercontinental title at Wrestle Kingdom. Man, what a brutal match.
Yes, agreed. A great match.
It was awesome. What about the daggum pile driver that Jericho took on the ramp?
Man, if you looked, like his neck was curving backwards, like the old school way they used to take pile drivers. And it sounded, it may have been the tailbone of the other wrestler. It may have been.
Yep.
But it sounded like a human skull hit that ramp.
Yeah.
And, Jericho instantly reacted. It looked real. It sounded real. How about that DDT?
That was the next thing I was bringing up, man. They talked about on the commentary how there was a hole in the table from Naito's head. I wanted to see
that hole.
Right, I did too. I know, that's what I was thinking the whole time.
Do you think it was a lie? Do you think there was really a hole in the table?
I think there was probably maybe a small crack in the table. And Kevin Kelly says, "Oh, it's a Naito head-size hole in the table." Speaking of, sidebar, real quick. What do you think of Kevin Kelly's commentary?
I thought the commentary for this show was pretty good, honestly.
The only thing that I got caught up on was the way that Kevin Kelly embellished a couple of moves. It really
I like that word.
It really got on my nerves. Like if he was talking about Kenny Omega doing the V trigger, it was the V trigger, and he would that's like, dude, don't do that. That's dumb. That's not what you're good at. Stick with being you, because that's not you. Don't do that.
Yeah, I think the V trigger was the only thing I really, really noticed it on.
He did it on that, and he did it on a couple other moves.
One-Winged Angel?
No, he did it on I think it was in another match where somebody did something repeatedly, and it got on my nerves. And I don't remember what it was. I have to go back and check it out. Anyway, so sidebar over. So you got the pile driver, you got the spike DDT, you got Jericho taking all these crazy bumps. But the thing about it is compared to his match with Kenny Omega last year, 1 year to the date, where the fans were really split 50-50 at that point. Now you've got all of these fans. It seemed like it was 100% Naito in this match. Fans were tremendously behind Naito. Just shows how good of a job Jericho has done in building this heel character in New Japan.
Well, I think he made Naito. Didn't he make him like bleed a couple different times in the video package? I think it even showed it, and he's putting this. He has this persona. I mean, even his outfit is like this evil character.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that just screams bad guy.
Sure.
And he's busted open Naito. It just, I don't see how that you could think that Jericho is the face in this if you're looking at old school wrestling type thinking. But the majority of your people here in America who probably did watch this show that were not in attendance were most likely cheering for Chris Jericho.
Of course. I mean, I was. You were. We knew he was. We knew he was going to lose, but I mean, it is what it is. Just think, man. Not even 5 months ago, we met that guy in a little bar in Cincinnati, and he's overseas, friggin' putting on an incredible wrestling match again. It's like it's not even the same guy.
Yeah.
It's like he goes into wrestling, he just morphs into this incredible character. It's like he was so down to earth and so nice to us, yet he slaps the crap out of Naito.
Well, I mean, even if you watched during the match, whenever that he grabbed the $10,000 camera from the Japanese man, who's I'm sure very nice and docile and does his job very well. Jericho very softly hands it back to him and smiles at him the same way he smiled at all of us at the concert, like, thank you, man, I appreciate your help. And then he goes right back in to Chris Jericho, the evil one mode. It's crazy.
That's funny. I didn't notice that. I may have to go back and check that out. That's really
funny.
Go
back and watch it. It's very obvious.
That's funny. I didn't check that out. One more match. I know we want to get to a couple more matches at Wrestle Kingdom, but let's get to one that doesn't involve anybody, at least yet, in AEW. And I'm talking about Will Ospreay and Kota Ibushi kicking off the night for the Never Openweight Championship. Holy cow, man. Match of the night, you think?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I mean, it was super quick. It was super crazy. Here's one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed this or not. There was one point in this match where Ospreay takes a Hurricane Rana, and as he takes a Hurricane Rana, he actually jumps to get himself all the way over to take a more clean, solid bump. It looked awesome, but why do more guys not do that? Like, it looks better overall, and I feel like it helps you take an easier bump. Whereas when Scott Steiner would give everybody the Frankensteiner, it's like you're scared to death if the guy's going to break his neck trying to rotate,
Yeah, I did notice that. There's a couple other wrestlers that do that. Well, a lot of your newer wrestlers seem to do that these days. But yeah, back in the day, man, Scott Steiner, it looked like he would spike these guys right on their head.
Yeah.
It was almost like they were like, nope, not doing this. And he's like, oh, yeah, you are. And he would just drive them into the mat head first.
Kind of like Nia Jax last week on Raw when she was trying to take the Hurricane Rana from Sasha Banks.
Oh, my God. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wasn't it? It was so bad. Oh, my God.
She just fat person whaled right into the mat.
Yeah. Whack. So, yeah,
like a belly flop.
I just love the way that Ospreay took bumps in that match. And Ibushi as well. I'm not taking anything away from Ibushi. I just noticed it from Ospreay.
Yeah. I watched them both pretty careful. And they both seem like they really know what they're doing and are really good at this strong style, fast-paced, cruiserweight, lucha libre hybrid wrestling style that they do.
So one of the things that JR and Ryan Satin brought up on their podcast, again, I got to give them credit because I didn't come up with this idea. But one of the things they brought up is with this transition, I guess it is now, with New Japan, with the possibility of Kenny Omega leaving, which we're going to get to in a minute, with Cody and the Bucks leaving, things like that, all these guys transitioning out. What do you think about... I'm just going to ignore you at this point because I don't know if that's Moses or your phone dinging or whatever. I'm just going to ignore you. Anyway, what do you think about Ospreay being the next guy in New Japan that starts kind of taking the main event spots?
One thing with Ospreay, I have not heard anything about his contract, but I will tell you this: I have heard that Kota Ibushi has never actually had a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is he's on a handshake or an appearance by appearance basis. He basically the rap on this guy that has not been confirmed is that he's from a very wealthy wrestling, or not wrestling, but a very wealthy Japanese family, much like BJ Penn, who is in the UFC, who would just basically fight when he wanted to. He went in there and just tried to put on a good performance, and he wanted to beat people and hurt people. And basically, that's the way that people will say that Kota Ibushi is. Doesn't need the money. Doesn't have to have a contract. He wrestles when he wants to, who he wants to, and where he wants to. And I would like to know what kind of contract that Ospreay has, just for my own knowledge, really.
So do you think, regardless of contract or appearances or whatever, do you think Ospreay is the kind of guy that they could start featuring in main events and he could take the spot of a Kenny Omega or a Cody or somebody like that?
I think so. I think he could hold his own. I think you put him up. Who is it? Tanahashi. That's now
the champ.
Yeah, he's the champ. A little bit of an older guy. Still seems like he can take some bumps. Still seems like he can take some high flying moves better than a lot of our older guys here in the States. But I think you can make Ospreay the new man.
I think so too. I think after watching that match and hearing JR and Ryan Satin talking about it, I definitely think they're onto something there. Speaking of Tanahashi and speaking of Kenny Omega, a really good match to end Wrestle Kingdom. The table spot in that match was brutal, man. Having Tanahashi fly off that top rope and just splat right into that table.
Loved it.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, in those tables, you've heard Jericho talk about it before. Those tables are not like U.S. tables. Those are not gimmicked. Those are not nothing. That hurts.
They look pretty stout. Who was it that you had actually recommended that I'll watch on New Japan? Kenny Omega, and who was the other guy?
Okada.
You need to go back. Talk about hat trick. These guys had 3 phenomenal matches too. And there is one spot where I think it's Kenny Omega just goes flying over the top rope and just breaks one of those tables just beautifully, perfectly in two. I mean, it just flies apart. You need to see that.
Okay. Speaking of hat trick, maybe we'll get one of those guys soon. It's a perfect one to do it because those were incredible matches. So, speaking of incredible matches, this one was really good. I enjoyed it, but I'm gonna go some negative here. I thought it was a little bit too long. What'd you think?
I agree. Yep, I agree. Kenny Omega can still have long matches like that and not lose an audience's interest. But I don't think if he has a partner like Okada, but with Tanahashi here, with the age difference, with the little bit of a slower pace on Tanahashi's part, it did start to drag. I think they should not have went quite that long. Shave 10, 15 minutes off of it, much better match.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I would even say just 5 to 7 minutes would have helped it a lot, but 10 would have been great, for sure. Like 30, if you're gonna have over a 30-minute match, you better be entertaining me the whole time. And this one was they did some good stuff, but you could have shaved 10 minutes off the match, had all the same spots, and it would have still been a great match.
I think they were trying to show that Tanahashi could still go.
Sure.
And so I think that's why we got the length of the match that we got. But he can go that long at this point, but he shouldn't go that long at this point.
Yep, I agree. And as the new champion, I don't know who he's going to be facing soon. So I don't know what their expectations are as far as match length and things like that. Because you look at Omega and everybody expects him to be the best bout machine or whatever. So I don't know what to expect as far as Tanahashi goes, but the match was entertaining. Like I said, just a little too long. But with Kenny Omega losing the championship, his contract's up at the end of the month. And he has openly confirmed that he has an offer from WWE. And he's basically confirmed he has an offer from AEW as well.
Well, you know he does.
You have to think he's going to AEW, is he not? What is the percentage of chance in your mind he goes to WWE?
5% WWE, 95% AEW.
That's about where I was leaning to.
I mean, if they come to him, let's just say that they think, okay.
Pronouns, pal, who's they?
So, Vince mainly, but the whole McMahon family, and maybe even Kevin Dunn and his little beaver face might get in there too. But let's say that since we've defined they, think, okay, so we can still deal one death blow to AEW. Kenny Omega's the only one they have left right now.
Yep.
So if they want to shoot an $850,000, even $1 million a year,
it's gonna have to be over $1 million for sure.
It's gonna have to be up there, and they could do it with the sweet Saudi money and the money that they're getting from SmackDown and all the other stuff. So, I mean, they can do it if they want to. I see them max going 800 to 850 max. I don't think they touch $1 million, and I think just like you said, they have to absolutely blow this guy's mind before he will sign.
Okay, so do you think? So what you're saying is you don't think they would offer Kenny Young Bucks money or AJ money? Because you know that AJ's making over $1 million.
I don't think that's guaranteed.
Okay.
I think the thing you have to keep in mind with WWE is they guarantee you so much.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, but by the time that you get your merchandise sales,
yeah,
we give you so much of this house, so much from WrestleMania. We guarantee you this. Yeah, you're probably going to make $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever AJ's making. But we're only guaranteeing you this.
Gotcha. Interesting.
I think that's where it comes in. I think they would need to guarantee this man $1 million plus, or else he ain't doing it.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, the ball's totally in Kenny Omega's court. He has all the leverage in the world. And if WWE wants him, great. And if they just want him to get him away from All Elite, I think he'll know that. I think he'll figure that out. And I think that'll be one of the reasons he doesn't go. Because it's like Sting always said. The reason he didn't go to WWE is he felt Vince McMahon wanted him because he wanted to take him away from WCW more than he wanted the actual Sting character. And maybe that's the way WWE feels about Kenny Omega.
Yeah, I don't think they would know. Well, before they had AJ Styles, I don't think they would know what to do with the Kenny Omega.
Yep.
But out of all the time that they've been in existence, there's only been one person like AJ that they've actually done right with. So would Kenny be number 2, or is he going to be, another Shinsuke Nakamura? So if Shinsuke can't make a big splash, I think that just shows that some of these people who are really good, they don't really motivate them. They don't give them any dance partners. They don't really. They don't make the best out of these people that they can.
That's true. At the same time, though, Kenny is American, at least. Kenny,
I thought he was Canadian.
well, okay, he's not Japanese.
Okay, there we go.
He is Canadian. You are correct. My bad. He's not Japanese.
Right.
He can cut an English promo.
Right.
We know that. And he's been in WWE developmental before. Now, of course, that was like 12 years ago. But I feel like he could adapt his style better than Shinsuke can. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think if they put the stock into him that they did AJ and gave him the exact same opportunities with the exact same people that you probably won't be able to do, but then yeah, I think that Kenny Omega could be guaranteed 800,000 a year and bring in nothing less than $1.5 million.
Yep.
And I think that's probably about what it would take. But there's no guarantee they're going to use him right. And I think he knows that.
Right. I mean, and as long as they open the door for him, his merch sales is going to go through the roof anyway. So, I mean, he's going to get a hefty check from that, I think.
So, one question before that we move on or before we end this or whatever. Let's just say you were booking.
Okay.
Right now.
Yep.
You're head booker.
I wish.
Beaverface is out the door. You are in control of production. You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
You have Kenny Omega coming in. How do you book his first year? I want to know his WrestleMania opponent. I want to know how he makes his initial debut. And I want to know a few wrestlers that you put him against to really showcase his attributes, his skills.
Well, the first one he gets is AJ Styles.
Okay.
I think Kenny comes in. I think Kenny would come in the night after WrestleMania, and AJ Styles would be champ after WrestleMania. AJ Styles is cutting a promo the night after WrestleMania, and here comes Kenny Omega. So their first match, unfortunately, would not be at WrestleMania.
Roof goes off the place.
I mean, not even a roof. You can't put a roof back on that place. They've just blown it to smithereens.
It's done.
So you get AJ and Kenny in that first pay-per-view after WrestleMania. I would have Kenny lose the first time, and then I would have a rematch and have Kenny win the second time. So you've got an AJ feud for a couple months, and Kenny's already the champ.
Okay.
And Kenny's keeping the title for a good while until a heel, and I'm just going to say like The Miz, or somebody like that wins Money in the Bank and cashes in on him, steals the title from him, and then somehow you build him back to maybe he wins the Rumble the following year, and then he goes and takes on, I don't know, a Finn Balor or a Kevin Owens at WrestleMania or something like that. I mean, I think that's kind of how it might look.
Okay.
Maybe a Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pushing him to the top as soon as he gets there. I'm not worried about what he can do and what he can't do and who he can dance with or whatever. I'm putting him in there. Just say, you know what you're doing. Get in there and do it.
All right.
That's what I do. What would you do?
I knew you were going to put it back on me.
What would you do?
Okay, so I would the Raw after WrestleMania. I would have probably trying to think here. I would probably have Ricochet come out, and I would have him making like have him interrupt somebody. Don't really care who comes down to the ring. Who are you? Who out here can actually match my skills? You can't. Maybe he's saying it to I don't know anybody. Bobby Lashley, the Almighty. I don't care. Whoever. So the fans kind of, they're iffy, whatever. We're gonna cheer we're gonna cheer him, we're gonna go on. Of course it's Ricochet. Everybody's a little bit pumped. But then you have him say, again I say, who out here can match my skills? There's nobody. There's nobody on Raw that can match me. AJ's on SmackDown. Nobody here can. The lights go off. Out comes Kenny Omega. You have a Kenny Omega Ricochet feud. Kenny Omega beats him. We'll say 2 out of 3 matches. Book it ever how you want to.
Right.
We go into SummerSlam. Kenny won. He beat him. We'll say we have him beat maybe one more person. How about the Almighty Bobby Lashley? Speaking of him, a big guy. You have Kenny come out. They have a very athletic match. Kenny beats him. One-winged angel since I'm booking. So then you have somehow, don't care how, Kenny gets a title shot against Brock Lesnar. SummerSlam. He beats Brock Lesnar with the one-winged angel. Kenny is the new Universal Champion. Kenny comes out. He says, who's left out here? Finn Balor, maybe? Yeah, come out here, Finn Balor. They have a series of matches. He beats Finn Balor. Again, who is left? There is nobody. There's nobody out here that can beat me. There's nobody else on the Raw roster that's as good as me. So I'm going to go to SmackDown. I'm going to take the Universal Championship to SmackDown, and I'm going to beat their champion, AJ Styles, at next year's WrestleMania.
There you go.
And he does. And he unifies the titles. He carries both titles. He goes back and forth between the brands a few times. That's how you beat. That's how you book Kenny Omega. That's how you make Kenny Omega in my book.
I was hoping that you would come back to the scenario where Kenny would come out to the ring and he would say, "Okay, who's left? Who's left? Nobody can match my talent." Blah blah. And then all of a sudden,
out comes Chris Belcher.
No. No.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just messing with you, man.
I mean, you could have Chris Jericho come out in that moment. Or the lights go out and then you hear, "Shock the system."
Ooh, that'd be pretty good, too.
And then
I've seen a lot of pictures of Adam Cole and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks floating around. I didn't even know they were in the same promotion at the same time. I mean, I really didn't.
Yeah, Adam Cole was in Japan with them when he was because he was part of the Bullet Club. So and they did the Ring of Honor loop and all that.
Right.
So yeah, I would have Adam Cole maybe come out and challenge Kenny Omega. I think that'd be entertaining. I like it.
I think that would be a good way that you could start it off. Instead of Ricochet, you could plug Adam Cole in there, and I think you would get the same effect.
Sure. Absolutely you would.
Or bring them both out. Have a triple threat. Who cares?
Whatever.
Go ahead.
Throw a cage on top of it. Doesn't matter. Give them a ladder.
Doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Maybe put them in a WWE War Games against each other.
There you go.
Each has their own team, baby.
Baby. So, we speculated about Kenny Omega in the WWE. He's probably not coming, like you said. 5% maybe he's coming. I agree with that number. But there are a lot of talent, like you mentioned earlier. We'll get to your discussion since you're dying to have it. You mentioned earlier about how NXT and 205 Live is going to have a hard time competing with AEW with some of these guys. And I made this note as we were recording. You're going to hear on this week's episode. We talked some about this as well. But I made the note to make sure we talk about it on this special YouTube exclusive. Man, I don't know how NXT is going to compete. signing these guys, I mean, they're going to have to throw big money at them, or they're going to have to promise them the moon to take them away from AEW, I think.
Yeah. And one thing that just went through my mind as you were saying that and bringing up this next discussion, that I'll throw this out there. Maybe it's part of this discussion. Maybe it's a sidebar. Don't care. The perfect way that you could have brought up Kenny Omega before he was such a big name and before AEW came into existence was you start him off in NXT kind of like Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And you make him just, I mean, we're talking about a younger Kenny Omega, a Kenny Omega who's not known as much yet. And you make him go through the ranks, man, and build him up from NXT, even if it's just for a short time, and then bring him to WWE. And I think that would actually be the best way to probably bring him up through the WWE product as it is. But to piggyback on what you just said, I would love to know. I mean, if we had somebody who's like a Bruce Pritchard, that would actually give money figures, I would love to know what some of these guys are making in NXT that are pretty big names. You know, you have your Ricochets, you have your Adam Coles, you have your who's the bruiserweight guy that just
Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne. You have some of these people, and I would love to know up to this point what they're making, because man, it's probably gonna have to at least double.
Yep.
I mean, I would think they're probably, just a wild guess, 150 in NXT,
Probably.
maybe 175 or 200
Tops.
max.
I would say
200?
I'd say 200's max.
Yeah. So I mean, these guys are absolutely killing their bodies. They're younger guys, so I mean, I guess they can do that, but they're having to absolutely kill themselves, and then they make it to the main roster, and most of the time it's fudged. They don't. The majority of people that I've seen who have been great in NXT do not become big names on the main roster,
Sure.
and that's a big part of this whole equation. You're going to have to pay them right when they're in NXT, and you're going to have to make them believe that they can be big name guys once they come up, and that's a whole totally different story than what we're looking at right now.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the one guy to me that comes to mind the most is Aleister Black. I feel like Aleister Black is a tremendous talent. He has such good ring skills, and he has this character that's a little off. That is a great blend of like a Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker. Okay, we see what they did with The Undertaker, and it was phenomenal, obviously. But you see what happened with Bray Wyatt, and he's non-existent. So if that happens, now the obvious step is to go to AEW, and he would fit in perfect there. You know,
Well,
and they would use him right.
Even your Tommaso Ciampa and your Johnny Garganos, there is nothing that makes me think that whenever Johnny Gargano gets to the main roster, they're going to do him right or pay him right. Ciampa, a little bit more so, but not much. But you put these guys with the talent that's assembled in AEW, even right now, they're 10, 12, 15 total superstars, male and female included. That's the cream that rises to the top.
Yep.
Automatically.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing that I'll say about Gargano is his popularity. I think that will help him out. I know that we've seen that with Finn Balor as well, where it hasn't really. He's popular, but that doesn't make creative book him any better. So I think the same thing could happen to Gargano. But as long as he keeps sticking with it, I think he has an okay chance. But you're 100% right. If guys like him and Ciampa are on 205 Live, heaven forbid, then they may as well go to AEW. That's what I think.
Up until just here recently with Finn Balor, I mean, he got his initial Universal title win, and then they've done nothing with him until just this past couple weeks.
Right.
I don't know when this show's going to air, but the past couple weeks we've seen him jump.
Yep.
There's nothing that makes me think he's going to continue to be in the top upper echelons of Monday Night Raw or the top card, even if he goes to SmackDown.
Sure.
But if he goes to AEW, man,
you
talk about one of the top paid guys underneath Chris Jericho. I mean, right there with Cody, I'd say.
Yeah, he'd be the number one guy, I think.
Yeah. And have awesome matches, awesome push. He's going to sell a lot of merch. I mean, if I was him, I would go.
Yeah.
Right now, if you said, okay, WWE contract can be terminated. You're getting ready to go up against possibly Brock Lesnar at the next pay-per-view. Do you want to go to AEW and sign with them? Or do you have faith in WWE? If I'm Finn Balor, I say, screw WWE. I'm going to AEW. Because they're just going to let Brock destroy me, and then I'm going to go right back down to the bottom of the barrel.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. It really does. But let's transition and let's talk about guys who haven't signed with either yet. You've got your guys on the independent circuit. You got your guys in New Japan. What does it look like now for them? Because like you said, if if NXT doesn't raise the bar in pay for these guys, the logical choice would be to go to AEW. Obviously, again, we don't know details of a television deal or anything like that, but you got to think that AEW would be the more attractive offer, regardless of money, for these guys coming from the independents. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it would be even like me and my profession. I can go to Alaska or I can go to Hawaii and make a lot more money doing what I do. But if I can make somewhat comparable money and stay right here in the mainland U.S. and stay close to where I was raised and to where most of my friends and family are, that's what I'm going to do. And I think it's the same thing with these guys. Before, I think it was WWE or New Japan. Now, there's a third, an AEW. And with AEW, they make good money, and they get to stay right here in the good old US of A.
Yep. I'm with you. I think it's definitely the more attractive offer, and I think that a lot of people will sign there rather than sign with NXT at this point. Because you got to think that all the independent guys coming from ROH and New Japan and Impact and things like that, their next step is NXT or WWE. Well, WWE says you got to go through NXT. Let's say, for example, if AJ Styles would have come sooner, if he would have tried to come to WWE, let's say when he was red hot in TNA in like 2008, and let's say NXT was around, and let's say All Elite was around. If WWE said, oh, you're going to go to NXT, there's no guarantee how long you're going to stay there. We're going to pay you $150, and we'll improve your game, and eventually you'll get to the main roster. Or All Elite comes calling and says, hey, we'll give you about the same money, maybe a little bit more, but you'll immediately go to the mid-top of the card. You know, obviously, AJ's taking the AEW deal in that situation. So I think that's the situation a lot of guys are going to run into.
Two things I want to bring up, and I'll admit that I have on the TV screen right now the NXT UK, their first little pay-per-view or big event, whatever you want to call it, their first takeover type deal. Two questions.
Okay.
First of all, do you know anything about Walter that debuted?
Not a thing.
Okay. Everybody's making a big deal. I have no idea who this cat is. I just thought you might.
Nope.
He kind of looks like, who was the Russian guy that fought Triple H that we saw with a house show one time?
Oh, Vladimir
Kozlov?
Yeah, Vladimir Kozlov.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of him. But anyways, the next question that I ask is these guys who are in this UK NXT deal, do you think that they still? Do you think they still sign in UK just because that's where they're based in to do the whole NXT deal, or do you think that they would be attracted to an AEW USA based promotion?
I think it's more of they sign in the UK because WWE just opened up a performance center in the UK, so I know they're trying to build that brand. So I would say that it's a UK exclusive kind of thing. Now, of course, if they want to come overseas, like Finn Balor and Becky Lynch and all those who ended up doing that, then I think that AEW is definitely an attractive offer for them coming overseas. But regardless, a lot of these independent guys, or at least guys growing up that are our age, still think that WWE is the place to be. And until AEW proves that they're a legitimate threat, which again is 3, 4, 5 years away, then some of these talents are still going to think that WWE is the land to go to, and maybe maybe this is an easier decision than what we think, and is the other way, leaning more towards WWE. I don't know though. What do you think?
Man, I'd probably agree with you. If I was in the UK, I guess, and I was just kind of trying to make a big name for myself, I think I'd probably get my feet wet with the UK NXT deal. But when that time comes to go to the USA to really make the bigger money, I think then I would really look at AEW as a competitor. So I think that's when it would really make the biggest deal.
I guess it would depend on what kind of impact that you've made in NXT UK and things like that, and what they're offering you, and things like that. Because Triple H and all those guys are over the NXT UK thing, and they've been over there doing their. Notice I ignored you there. They were over there for the takeover, and things like that. So they're trying to build it as the same. God, I don't know what you're doing over there. They're trying to build it as the same NXT as in the US. So it would just depend, I guess, when that time comes. Because you're right, if AEW is a competitor at that point, then maybe that is a difficult choice for them.
How far away do you think we are? If AEW is what we all hope that it is and will become, how long do you think it will be until they have an online streaming service? A year, 2 years?
Oh, I think that's coming next year.
Next year? Okay.
Yep, because I think they'll get ramped up fully in 2020, but I think that they're not doing that, number one, without a TV deal, and they will have an online streaming. Now, maybe they have an exclusive partnership with Fight. I don't know that they'll have AEW Network or, whatever. Maybe they do, or maybe it's just through Fight. I'm not totally sure, but everything they have will be available by the time they get ready to launch full time, I think.
One thing that I'll just throw in here as far as independents go. The WWE just released a documentary on Nigel McGuinness. Probably one of the better independent wrestlers that we've never seen actually wrestle for WWE. Or at least if we did, it was very vague, very minuscule. But this documentary is really awesome as far as like going back and looking at this guy. I hate that he didn't make it to like the main roster, or
Yeah.
at least go through NXT before his career was over. That's just he got a crap stick deal, man.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about his background. I know just bits and pieces here and there, but I did see that they were airing that documentary, so I am pretty excited to go check that out. I think that'll be really good. Unfortunately, some of these guys like Nigel and like Corey Graves and things like that, ended up with a bad deal, and they didn't get to, pursue the career as a wrestler that they probably deserved,
Yeah, Corey Graves is another one that I haven't really went back and watched, but I heard he was really good
Yeah.
in his matches that he did have before his career took that unfortunate end. I hate to see people like that who are so young and for one reason or another they never get the shot. There was a wrestler, maybe you can remember who he is, but he actually got hepatitis C from Abdul the Butcher. He was like one of the biggest independent wrestlers that I've ever heard of up until, here recently with all of them kind of coming out. But whenever he got hepatitis C, that ended his career because everybody was scared he would get busted open during the match and give another wrestler hepatitis C.
I do not remember who that is. I'm trying to do a
I
quick
can't
Google
either.
search and see if I can find it. Devin Nicholson.
Is that who it was? That doesn't sound right.
That's who I just did a quick Google search, and it looks like that's who sued Abdullah the Butcher.
It may be. It may be him under like a different wrestling name.
Yeah,
That's not what I remember him as, though.
You're thinking Billy Graham. Because it happened to Billy Graham as well.
Well, Billy Graham was the old guy.
Right. Let's see.
If I hear the name, I'll remember it.
This is preparation at its finest, folks.
I just throw this stuff at Chris, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I come into this, I don't make notes. Whenever I hear things, I just kind of throw crap to the wall and see if it sticks. So.
Okay, his primary wrestling name was Hannibal.
Yes, that's him.
Yep. His real name is Devin Nicholson.
Okay.
So, yep.
That's who I was thinking of. Tough break, man. I hated that. And now there's actually a cure for Hep C, but this guy probably hasn't wrestled for like years and years. I mean, this is a pretty old case that I'm bringing to us here, but.
Right. Yeah, it's some of those guys just get a bad deal, man, and unfortunately it just sucks, for sure. So anything else that you want to add? Anything about AEW, New Japan, or Wrestle Kingdom before we kind of put a bow on this week's episode?
The only thing that I want to add before we do the old bow on the episode is that WWE, I think, other than Ricochet, two of the biggest ones that they need to really look out for, and they better sign them to a deal, and they better sign them to a deal fast, is Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley. Both of these girls have what it takes. They're excellent athletes. They're not hard on the eyes at all. And I think that Ricochet, those two, and we'll throw in Adam Cole and all of the Undisputed Era. They better do these people right. They better get them signed, or else they're going to be looking at some regrets in the near future.
And you're talking about main roster contracts because they're all under NXT deals.
Exactly.
Yep.
They better sign them to bigger money and fast.
Yep, absolutely. Especially Adam Cole and especially Ricochet. Because like you mentioned Ricochet earlier, Ricochet fits that mold of AEW and what they're going to want. He's 100% right there, as well as Adam Cole. And, Toni Storm, Rhea Ripley, and those cats as well. So, yeah, they need to make sure they treat them right, make sure they take care of them, and make sure that their future is in good hands. Because AEW is going to shake the foundation of the business whether WWE wants to accept it or not. They just are.
I-I-O, shake your foundations. That's what AC/DC says. Love that song, and that describes what we will see with AEW going forward.
That is exactly right. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed this YouTube exclusive. Again, you will not find this on our regular podcast feed. If you know folks that listen to the podcast and have not checked out our YouTube channel, this is a good reason to point them here. So make sure that you check out our channel, subscribe. You'll get an alert every time that we upload anything on YouTube. You can find the rest of our episodes on SoundCloud, on iTunes, and on Google Play. All of our social medias are in the description of this video, but you can check us out at Music City Mania on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Shoot us an email, musiccitymaniapodcast@gmail.com. Time for the old Larry Sabisco wave.
Yep, I agree. And if you're going to listen to anything, listening to the whole podcasting show when he gives you this advice. Recently, I've been listening to some podcasts. They're conspiracy theory podcasts, but they say the same thing that we have been telling you. Whenever you get together with your friends, whenever that you get together with your loved ones, recommend this podcast. It's not something that that no other podcast out there does. When we plead to you, when we say, just go on and give us a recommendation. If they don't like us, that's fine. But at least give other people the chance to listen to us and form their own opinions. Because I guarantee the whole podcasting show says they will love this show.
I couldn't have said it better myself. From the whole podcasting show, my brother from another mother, Jared Justice, I am Mr. Podcasting, your phenomenal host, Chris Belcher. Thanks for joining us here on this YouTube exclusive of the Music City Mania podcast, and we will catch you guys down the road.